like I said, technology always fails me at this point. Being live streamed, and we should be on Facebook. Awesome. Here we are. We are ready to rock and roll. I'm just going to pop in the group chat. We are live. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I am so stoked to have this incredible guest with us today. I have the amazing Parveen Smith, who has volunteered her time. I'm just like absolutely overwhelmed that this wonderful woman has come on and given her time to us. But she's coming on. She's going to talk to us about fibromyalgia, trauma, chronic pain, fatigue, and hopefully debunk some common misconceptions, maybe answer some questions. And I do believe, and I don't want to ruin everything, but I do believe that she's gone through it and it is now a thing of the past for her as well. So everyone, please welcome Parveen Smith. Thank you so much for joining me. I am not great at introductions, so I would love you to please feel free, step in, tell us who you are, tell us about your story, and then we can get into some nitty gritty of the awesome questions that we've got.
Thank you, Bianca, and hello everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I have quite a story to share with you about chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So I'm talking about roughly about 18 years ago. I couldn't breathe. I got up to go to work and I worked in schools, and my daughter was standing in front of me and I literally could not breathe. And I said to her, go and get the neighbour. And she did go and get the neighbour, and the neighbour came, and the neighbour was trying to ring the doctor. The doctor says, don't ring us, call an ambulance. So an ambulance came, flashing blue lights, and there I was sitting in front of my daughter on the edge of the bed, not being able to breathe, thinking this is the last time I'm going to see her face. One of the most scariest moments of my life, I have to say, because I felt my body physically shutting down, physically. So as the paramedics came, they took me to hospital, and cutting a long story short, in between those phases is that they couldn't find exactly what was wrong with me, except for I kept saying something was whizzing around this part of my body, and I was kept losing my breath. And this went on for a period of time, actually, because my doctor kept on telling me to get into hospital, kept admitting me, and then the hospital were looking at me thinking there's nothing really seriously wrong with you, you're too young. And they kept on doing some checks on, but sending me home. It was not enough. But I knew there was something serious going on in my body. So I then eventually went and sought further medical help from the private doctors. And they said, oh my goodness, Parveen, you are actually breathing in carbon dioxide instead of oxygen. You're poisoning your own lungs. There's a blockage in your lungs. And that's exactly how it felt to me. And during this period of time, he gave me some medication to take, and he said, come back and see me. I went back to see him. He says, oh, miraculously, that blockage has gone. So I had a lot of phenomenal experiences, which not everybody understands when we look at spirituality on that sort of level. I was one of these people who was really straight, really understanding the logic in a physical world, and never thought this was going to happen to me. Something phenomenal happened as I one night cried out in the middle of the night and said, God, anybody, whoever you are, please do not let me die. My time is not up. My mission is not completed. And I was so desperate at this stage because I was still struggling. I was still struggling with daily life. And then a phenomenon happened, which has been recorded. It's been written in my books, and it's been shared worldwide as well. So an amazing experience happened where I felt I was being operated on. I was wide awake, and it was so painful. I thought, my goodness me, what is going on to my own body? And then with exhaustion, I fell asleep. The next morning, I said to my husband, did you see what was happening? And he's saying, what are you talking about? Anyway, so it was a phenomenon. Not everybody will believe me, and I talk about it quite openly, in fact, but it did happen to me. Then I thought, wow, now I feel I probably will recover from my condition and nothing else is going to happen from this. But that was not the end. I became disabled after that period for a 2-year period. And what had happened was they put me down as labeled me as having chronic fatigue as well as fibromyalgia. And I was at that point where I couldn't even move my fingers. I was actually paralyzed for periods of time. I couldn't speak, and all I could do is barely blink my eyes. But the worst part about this all is, because the breathing difficulty, which brought this on, was that I was scared to close my eyes. I was scared to close my eyes because if I did that, I didn't know if I'd wake up again. So I was doing my very best to keep my eyes open, but the exhaustion in my body was so intense. So this went on for a period of time until, like I say, these phenomena kept happening. Then I just surrendered. I thought, I'm just going to now surrender, because that's what I was guided to, just surrender and let it be. And whenever I recover, I will recover. So like I say, I struggled so much over this period of time. I had to retrain to breathe again because I didn't know how to breathe. My whole body was an absolute mess, and I will tell you that. I was getting the brain fog side of things. My eyesight wasn't working properly. I could not read articles. I could not read writing on a piece of paper. I couldn't read books. And during this 2-year period, I was disabled. My lung specialist said to me, Parveen, don't try and run before you can walk, basically. Don't try and get up that slope too fast. Take the steady path up, because what you have now is basically you're going to have it for 20 or 40 years of your life. This was something that I was not willing to accept. So I told my lung specialist, I do not accept this because I know I will recover. And you know what? I recovered within 2 years, to the month, to the actual month. I couldn't before this walk. I couldn't talk properly. I couldn't eat. I was losing weight. I was sent to the hospital to get some more nourishment. So I was under the specialist for diet. But again, I was given the wrong things to eat, which actually was going against my body for recovery. I was bedbound. I had my husband who'd lost his job. Became my carer. My children became my carers, and people around us became my carers and did our ironing for us and things like that. So it was really, really one of those severe disabilities of my life, which I thought, am I actually going to ever recover from this? That was my early days. But then, like I say, I surrendered to the fact, if I recover, and when I recover, and I knew I was going to recover, as and when I recover, it will happen when it's meant to be. I just took each day as it came. I didn't overface myself with things, and sometimes I did, but did I pay for it? Boy, I did. And that's what actually was the last result of the breathing difficulties, was chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And it was quite chronic, as I say, because I could not even move my fingers. There were times when I tried to get to the bathroom, when nobody was at home, and I actually didn't make it. When my husband did get his job back after a period of time, he used to find me on the floor, pick me up, and either put me back onto the sofa or help me to where I needed to be. So this was really quite severe, and it was almost, like I say, being paralyzed. That's the only way I can explain it. No words would come out of my mouth. I could not move my fingers. And you know what? During the first few months of me being disabled, because I had a lot of friends, all my teacher friends used to come home to visit me with bunches of flowers. And I still believe to this day, they came to say their farewell to me. They came to say goodbye to me, because I think they saw me constantly just lying there, not being able to breathe and really struggling. I could barely open my eyes and see them. And they used to sit for a few moments or however long, and then they would leave. And I still believe that these friends thought that was it. Parveen's dying.
Wow, what an incredible story. So, oh, that's quite a heavy story, isn't it? That's a lot of pain, that's a lot of time, and there's so many questions already in there. Could you explain a little bit more about these epiphanies that you were having?
Okay. Are the audience ready to hear it?
I'm sure they are. Very welcoming, very loving, very caring audience that we have here. So I'm open to anything. And I know for a fact a couple of people that I've spoken to who are ready and raring, probably watching this live now. If not, they'll be definitely watching on replay. I know that everyone is ready to try anything. And look, if you can provide, well, literally, you are walking evidence that whatever happened to you works. Why not? Let's listen to it.
Yes, so my epiphany moments were during that time. I was explaining this to somebody just last night, because I am a funeral celebrant as well, so I do funeral officiations as well and burials. And that came just over some recent years as a friend of mine passed away, and it's a long story. So as I was there, I was trying to explain to them, because they were very logic people, and we are logic beings to a certain point, because we only see sometimes black and white, but we don't look in between. And so when we look too logically, we're missing out on some signs, some moments of opportunities maybe, and anything else that's in between there that could be there for our favor to help us in our journey. But during that time, that night, when I cried out and said, please, God, anybody, I was willing not to die. I did not want to die. Today is not my day to die. And I was literally begging. And that night, 3 beings appeared in front of my bed, in front of me, translucent. And as they were there, I was wide awake. My digital clock was in front of me. And I looked and I thought, wow, what is this? And that's what happened. They were operating on my body. And these translucent beings, which I would call angels, were literally operating on my body. It was like a physical operation. It was painful. And at that moment, I can remember thinking to myself, where's the anesthetic? You know, I was so painful, and I just surrendered. And I thought, there's nothing I can do. I'm trying to shut my husband in. He can't hear me. I'm gagged, and I just got to let this happen. And I just let them operate on me. And it lasted for 1 hour until I felt so exhausted. I couldn't keep my eyes open, and I fell asleep. And that was one of the first things. And I thought that after that, I would be absolutely healthy and well. As I said to my husband, did you see what happened last night? He said, see what? I said, did you not see those 3 beings, these angels that were working on my body? He said, no, what are you talking about? He did not quite believe me at that moment. But what had happened was, this is the best way for me to explain it. It was almost like a portal of energy had opened up around my space that time. And from that day onwards, amazing things started happening, where my children were seeing things of spiritual nature, angels, masters. They were seeing things that were beyond the logic. Now, kids do not lie. That age group are just completely innocent. And they were saying things to me that I thought only I was seeing, but they were seeing as well. So I wrote my 2 books on these sort of experiences of my journey of being absolutely devastated in illness and wondering, how can I walk, to exhaustion. And I talk about chronic fatigue. I talk about fibromyalgia. I talk about how am I going to breathe to get to the next step up, you know. And then during that time frame, these are the epiphany moments we had. These were the real things that were actually happening in our space. So if we only see black and white and we do not look in between, we're missing opportunities for our own growth. So when I cried out that night, please do not let me die just yet, my mission is not completed, this is the reason why I was kept alive. Now, for 18 plus years, I've been coaching, I've been mentoring, I've been training people all over the world, and literally we have saved lives. We have.
That's amazing. I've got goosebumps, like literally. That's incredible. That's incredible work. And you know what? Regardless of how much someone believes in the spiritual world or what, I mean, I like a year ago, I was like, spiritual who? I was like, yeah, none of that exists. None of that exists. And I was very, very like, I thought I was science-based at the time, which is quite ironic because there is a lot of science within it. But I was just, yeah, I was black or white. Like, spiritual does it, like if I can see it, hear it, smell it, touch it, taste it, then that's it. But who is to say that those 5 senses are the only senses that, or the only things that human beings can, that is actually around, right? So just because we have 5 senses doesn't mean that there are other things out there which we are not attuned to seeing. And it's just a matter of, in my experience, of just being open enough to go, I wonder, you know, I wonder. And we talk a lot about it in manifestation, you know, if you want something and you really want it, you know, not with a desperation, but with a passion and with a drive, it will come to you somehow. But that is because you are so much more open to other possibilities and opportunities. And it's a thing, like so many books have been written on it, so much science shows you about law of attraction. And it's just a matter of being a little bit more open-minded with the science that we have now, with the evidence that we have that is coming to light every single day. And literally, you are healing people with this power. So with that in mind, I think that's absolutely incredible. love to go into a little bit about fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, pain, trauma, and that. Is that okay?
Absolutely fine, yes. So just going back to a slight bit there about science, and years ago, I've travelled in different countries, and even in this country, in the UK, I've spoken to GPs, doctors, physios, all sorts of people, and nurses about energy. That was in 2000, probably 8, 9. I was trying to bridge the gap back then, and I did a big talk in India about bridging the gap between science and spirituality, and I did that for surgeons, doctors, the
Wow.
health minister. It was huge. 500 invitations handwritten was sent out. 700 people turned up. Yes. And that was
Incredible.
aired on TV, newspapers, and radio live at that time. So when I tried to bridge this gap, because there is a gap, and if we miss that gap, how can we treat somebody holistically? We can't. If we're looking at black and white only, really, we have to treat every single person holistically in a wholesome way. So chronic fatigue is absolutely debilitating for those people who have got it. I really empathize with you. Luckily for me and my students, we are the other side of that. We are. And really, chronic fatigue is so debilitating, as I've already spoken. Literally, sometimes you just cannot get out of bed. Even if you have the greatest willpower to try and get out of bed, you cannot. You can't even sometimes walk. For some people who might have experienced the paralyzation like I did, yes, it does literally exist. And people are not being lazy when they have chronic fatigue, but it's only because the body is out of sync. That's what it is. The body can be brought into alignment again and be healthy again. It's just that people just don't know how. And the medical societies, of course, like NHS, they don't fully understand how we can actually recover always from chronic fatigue. That's why people remain with chronic fatigue syndrome. Fibromyalgia is very, very painful. And for me, myself, I cannot actually say at that time, the slightest little touch on my skin was the most alarming of pain. Do not touch me. It was so intense. It can be feeling like burning. It just feels like you've got all the alarm bells are going on off like this, like pain. It's just pain bells, and it's really quite severe. So yes, everybody who has chronic fatigue might have variations of how severe their chronic fatigue is. So if we look at what is chronic fatigue, it is absolutely very, very debilitating condition. I'm just going to have a look at some of this for you, because I want to share this with you, that chronic fatigue isn't just tiredness. And I had sensitivity to light where I couldn't even look out. And I think fibromyalgia sort of overlaps that a little bit as well. Sensitivity to light. The weakness is in the body, because when you are not walking, you're not moving, you're reducing your muscle mass. You are wasting, literally wasting away. So this isn't my first disability. That was my second disability I just talked about. And when I had my previous disability to that, my muscle mass had completely gone, and there was complete weakness. You will experience also with that, because you're not moving around and you're not using your body, muscle ache, joint pain. And that again does sort of almost link a little bit over onto the fibromyalgia side. And yes, with chronic fatigue, you can have that brain fog, the numbness, the forgetfulness, that all comes in with chronic fatigue. And sometimes physiotherapists or GPs might overlink that again with ME as well. So just be a bit mindful, because that's what they thought I had. Also, there was a query about glandular fever, because that can cause chronic fatigue as well. So you may have certain things overlapping. Now, if we look at fibromyalgia, like I said, it's very, very painful to the touch. And I, in my earlier years, as I had it, met so many people who were in a fibromyalgia group. But it, like I say, it can be very debilitating. Once you've got it, it is true what that surgeon said to me. You may have it for the rest of your life. But what I said to him is, doctor, it's people like you who need to listen to people like me, because I have found something that I'm using on myself that I know is working, even though it might not be quick, and I will recover. He put his pen down, he sat with his arms folded, and he listened. But then, like I said, he did think I was trying to run before I could walk. I obviously did not work for 2 years, but one thing I decided was I didn't want to be classed as disabled, even though I was disabled. I said to the doctor, I do not want any incapacity because I lost my job, incapacity benefits. I do not want disability benefits. Take them off me. And the doctor said, are you crazy, basically? He said, you're not well. I said, I know I'm not, doctor, but what I want to do now is I want to come back into recovery, and I'm going to start to work when I'm ready to start to work 1 hour a week. And that's what I did. I started working 1 hour a week, then a few hours a week, until I made it to 8 hours a day and more. And that didn't happen straight away. My recovery then started to come with the 1 hour a week. As I came into recovery, my body, all of a sudden, I was able to walk more freely without assistance. I could talk much better. My brain fog wasn't hardly there. I was eating better. My whole body started to function better because I feel on some level, I made this conscious decision that I do not want to be disabled. So there's many different elements to recovery as well. And that resilience, I think, in my body system of who I am was not going to be the mum with 3 children who's going to stay at home for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you made a decision then and there. This is not who I am. This is not, I will not let it beat me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to other people that are in very similar, sorry, these aren't, and this isn't any question that I might have preempted you with. What would you say to any other people that might be like, oh yeah, but you know, she just has faith. I don't have that faith, or that's probably just not, you know, maybe her symptoms were less than mine, and that's how she could claw her way out of it and heal herself. Like, simply put, a lot of people might really think that making a decision is not that just, it's just not that simple to recover from making a decision. What would you say to those people?
Okay, so I'm one of these people, I'm quite headstrong, if you like. And once I know that I don't want to be a certain way, I will do my very best to find any way or means of recovery, which is what we did. And yes, so I would say you've got to really, really think, do I want to be disabled for the rest of my life? Do I want to be healthy and well for my family, to help them grow, to watch them get married and, you know, go to education, school, whatever, and see them in the best of my life with them? These are really big decisions. And I'm not saying that people are saying, I just want to be ill for the rest of my life. I'm not really saying that. What I'm trying to say is you've got to really focus on your future. You've got to really look at, I have a choice. I know you might think you might not, but you do, you literally do, because I see so many people and their lives have been transformed. So you have to really think, I want to be healthy, I want to be well, and I'm going to do absolutely anything to get that. I am going to do that. And once you've made that decision, find the solution. Whichever person you think is going to help you, go to them. Let them help you, let them guide you. It's easy for our mind actually to go, that's not working, I'm going to give up. Oh, I can't do this anymore. In fact, it's the opposite. You've got to do it. You've got to do it for you. You've got to do it for your family, to see where your future will be. You know, when we've turned that leaf, like I did, I was like, oh my goodness me. And literally, I was pretty much told the world is your oyster, which it did become. It was absolutely true. And beyond, because you can't see in that space when you're ill, but if you make a decision, I will be well. I'm going to give you some tips, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And what I would say to you is, ladies, get yourself a pen and paper. I'm going to give you 3 things to really focus on right now. And this is something that I did do. I wrote something down for myself and I read it to myself for 2 years, non-stop, every day, middle of the day, end of the day. I just did this. Okay, I love myself, because when we go through aches and pains and we don't look our best because we can't take care of ourselves, we lose the love for ourselves. We even lose the will of making the effort. So imagine that. So put on your piece of paper, I love myself. And the next one was, I am healthy and well. Even though you're not, you're thinking, how can I say that to myself? I was saying that to myself 18 years ago. I am healthy and well. I am healthy and well. I am healthy. And I just let it just sink in and sink in. Whether it happened or not the next day or the week after, it didn't matter. As long as I just believed it. It's a belief thing as well. We have to ingrain it into our mind. And then the next one was, you know, I want to be healthy and well for my family, for my future. So you can, again, adapt that to your own wording. These sort of things These three things is what I did to help myself to excel my own awareness that I want to be healthy. I cannot stay like this. And when different things come your way, you'll say, oh, now I've been saying that for so long, maybe a solution is coming to my path and now I can act on it. But don't give up, because when we are so ill, your body will try and drag you down with it. What you've got to do is almost like swim through this muddy waters and stay at this level and say, you know what, I am going to recover from this. I will recover from this. I have a bright future ahead of me. How? Sometimes you don't know how it's going to happen, but just keep in that energy that I want to be well. I will do anything to be well. So just some tips there. But this is something that people's mindsets can be very different. We're all unique beings, so we'll all think slightly differently. But if you can be headstrong and do not give up and keep going with it, wait till your recovery is there, then you'll look back and you'll go, oh my God, was that me? I quite often look back and think, thank God I'm not there anymore. Thank God I actually recovered within 2 years. And thank God I am now able to do anything I want to do with my family, without my family. And I'm a provider. I help my family. I didn't want to be that person who just, thought this is my life now. I didn't want it. I couldn't give up. I just couldn't.
Mm-hmm. And so it's very different as well for people to say, I can live with fibro, I can live with this, I can live with this, versus I will get over it. Because you did mention that a lot of people have said, right, and you were told, I think you said that you were told you're going to live with this for the rest of your life.
Yes.
But you're like, well,
why should
I don't anymore.
Yes, exactly. But why should I believe that? Why should I believe that? Who knows what can help me out there? Why should I believe someone who says you're not going to recover from this? When actually we're unique beings and the power is within us anyway. And how strong are you? You're actually testing your own test. It's a test of faith within you.
Mm-hmm.
You're testing yourself by saying, I am going to recover. And even if you don't see it right away, keep at it. Look at me. I did that for 2 years. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, had no pain in my body, but there's a process of healing with that as well. But I had no pain in my body. My clarity was there. I could walk. And even the little girl at that time, who's 8 years old, said to me just last year, Parveen, can you remember you couldn't even walk to your front door? Can you remember walking past my house? She's now 20 something years old, well, however old she is. And she said, and now look at you, look at what you're doing. This is amazing. And this is what can happen. Don't give up.
Mm-hmm. And doctors can be wrong.
Yes.
Everyone can be wrong. That's totally fine. But it's your belief that will get you through. And it's the same with my weight loss clients. It's the same, like, I know Debbie's on here and Debbie rinses her I am statements, and I can assure you that every single day she's with the I ams, but we focus on the ones that she struggles to really believe. So the ones that are actually quite unique to her, and shift those, because ultimately they'll probably be the ones that are holding her back. So yeah, we talk a lot about the power of beliefs, and I actually did a video recently about the power of beliefs. So I'm glad you say that, because it makes it make me look a little less crazy, and saying that changing your beliefs will change your outcome. But there we go, folks. There's the truth. I've got a bunch of questions and we are going on like crazy. So it's already past. So briefly, can we just skip through a couple? Not skip through them, but just quickly touch on them. What are the possible causes of these conditions?
I personally believe, and I've been talking about this for years now in different sort of talks that I do, I believe it's something that's a trauma that's been triggered in your body. So if you've had a traumatic experience, this is my total belief on this, that trauma gets locked into your body system, and it may come out in various ways. And a lot of people who have got fibromyalgia or had it, there's something that's happened to them, whether it's in the childhood, middle ages, or whenever, and that makes an impact on the body, and the body then decides to slow down or shut down. It's its way of coping. And then when that's slowing down, the chronic fatigue comes in, the painful body symptoms come in, and everything else that comes with that, joint pain and everything else. It is part of the shock and the trauma.
I think it's very important to acknowledge that again, it's something that happens to you, whether you have responsibility over it or not. And then our bodies, our minds, it goes into protection mode. So in essence, it's kind of like a protection mode as opposed to, like a defensive mode, defensive mechanism. And especially with trauma, I think it's just incredible to also know that you can heal yourself, you can heal your body, and you can get out of that protection mode and into being able to live your life. So I know a couple of people with fibromyalgia, and they have had a fairly traumatic past as well. So would you say that these are strongly linked, these two?
100%. I would 100%. I talk about it quite often, and I would say a lot of the time people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia is because something traumatic has happened.
Yeah, it's crazy how incredible the body is at protecting itself. It really is. It truly is incredible. What are the most effective treatment approaches for managing fibromyalgia, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and trauma? Are there any emerging therapies or interventions that show promise?
So people might have tried, when I get people calling me about different sort of things that I do, it's almost like, first protocol people usually go to is a counselor, then they might go to a hypnotherapist, then they might try a different type of thing. They might try regression therapies, which I've done in the past for years as well. And then, people are looking for, well, it might work for one person, but it might not work for the next person. So you've got to find something that's going to suit your body system. So you can try any of the ones that I've already mentioned. There's always going to be new and emerging therapies, and what I have been using for years and years and years on myself, which helped my recovery, and the new emerging therapy, what we call now is AOT, is very, very instantaneous. So I just had a lady here earlier, and she was hearing some of the stories of, for example, a child, cannot control his bladder at school. How traumatic is that for that child, going into then some sort of other symptoms such as anxiety and stress? But after one session, his symptoms lessened in just one session, but we do them in series. So it depends what people are looking for. But AOT is a very transformative, quite instantaneous. It reacts with your body quite quickly, and it helps to work with you, with any type of health, physical health, emotional, mental, and on a soulful level, so deeper in a soulful stuff as well. So it just depends what people are looking for, but there will always be new emerging therapies out there. But like I say, what we do, we've got practitioners in different parts of the world as well, in different parts of the country of AOT, and they get the same results as I get, my practitioners.
Wow. Now, would you be able to explain a little bit about AOT for people like myself who have never heard of it before? Maybe some people, some women watching this video might not have heard of it either. So would you be able to just kind of give us a brief rundown of what that is?
Yeah, so a lot of people, like, for example, might know about Reiki. Reiki's calming, relaxing, and it can be good for a lot of people. And sometimes people think, oh, am I coming for Reiki? No, you're not coming for Reiki. What you're coming for is something highly transformative. It's really fine, high vibrational frequency. If you're into frequencies and energy, it's a really high vibrational frequency, and it works with your body system. It's it goes back actually quite a few thousand years. So I'm the founder of this. And when I knew how my body was healing and responding, and there's a long story behind that as well, I won't go into that today. Then this therapy was born recent years during the pandemic, even more so, even though I was using it well before that, as my clients were saying. And what happens here is it is working on mainly for the physical body, this is, and it's almost like your body will respond quite quickly to this, go to every part of your cells, your being, your soul. It can go deeper into different glands of your body system. It links with chakras, of course, coming back from the ancient Indian sort of side of who I am. And it sort of taught him that way as well. But it's very deep, very deep.
Wow. Wow. And if anyone's sitting here, I just want to say, from this kind of like non-spiritual person myself, if anyone is sitting here thinking, this just sounds a little bit woo-woo to me, I just want to give you a perfect example. I, again, didn't believe in spirituality or anything like that. I thought crystals were just pretty colored rocks, and I didn't even believe in manifestation, really. And then I am grateful to have met one of my current best friends. She practices Reiki. And she was like, look, you're feeling really tense. And I was like quite emotional. I was going through an emotional state. I don't care to really disclose what was going on at the time, but I had a lot of like emotions and hormones and stuff around my womb area, around my belly area. And she laid me down on the bed on the kitchen island, and she did Reiki on me, and I was like, oh well, okay, whatever, let's try this. And I just cried for like half an hour, but not when she was just there. It wasn't like it was lights off and then I cried. It was like every time she went over a particular area of my body, she told me this afterwards, right? Every time she went over a particular area, I would just burst out crying. So I just wanted to interject from someone who has previously had zero experience with the spiritual world or anything like that. I had Reiki and I had an incredible experience. Not to say that everyone's going to, not to say that everyone's first experience will be mind-blowing like it was for me, but be open, right? The moral of the story, the moral of my story is just be open, because again, we just because the five senses are what we think they are doesn't mean there's another one out there that we're just not attuned to.
Yes. And Bianca, with that as well, of course, I've seen police constables who wouldn't even believe a single thing, but they've been referred by physiotherapists, for example. I've seen TV personalities that have been to me for therapy, scientists, proper scientists, medical people, doctors are like, wow, what is this, Parveen? This is amazing. I thought, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've had the medical sector here as well who've experienced what I do.
It's incredible, and all you need to do is just approach it with an open mind, going, do you know what?
Just do what
I might be wrong. Yeah. Do what you got to do, Parveen. Look, like you're the expert here, but also approach it and go, do you know what? What I might have thought before, I might be wrong. Let's just see what happens here, right? Okay, so looking through my questions, I kind of already answered that one. Are there any lifestyle modifications such as exercise, diet, or stress management techniques that can help alleviate symptoms or improve overall well-being for individuals with either or all of the above: fibro, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and trauma?
Yes, and you're talking to the right person here, Bianca, because I would say diet. I think when I had chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and the hospital put me on their diet, I felt terrible. They told me to put cream and cheese into every part of my food, and I could feel my internal organs swelling, and I felt so unwell, and it made me really, really poorly. So fresh greens, fresh diet, or everything as fresh as possible is good. Try not to eat convenience foods if you can avoid that, and getting the right nutrition in your body. Exercise wise, I know you're going to be poorly. You're probably thinking, how can I even actually do any exercise? Get some fresh air, go and sit in the garden, and getting that rejuvenation from the nature is absolutely fantastic. It actually makes you feel happier as well. And the sunshine, so if you can do those sort of things, it's great. If you can't sort of take certain types of food types, then you need to get your vitamins and minerals through supplements as well. So these are some of the things I think are very important. Your water intake has to be brilliant, electrolytes, that sort of thing. So you're looking at, whatever you think that is good for you, that you can manage, that's what I would go for. Diet was a big thing for me, and I was given the wrong diet by the hospital.
And it's such a shame the hospitals are feeding people to keep them in there almost, it's kind of what they're doing, is they're hospitals are feeding people poor food, which isn't even food half of the time, and it's actually perpetuating poor health. Again, sorry to throw you under the bus here, Debs, or in the spotlight, should I say. Debs was not whole food, but now she is predominantly like 99% whole food, plant-based. And in the time that she has had a transition with me, her results have just been incredible. And she even told me the other day that she was able to walk up to the second flight, which she lives on, up the stairs, which is a huge improvement. And just to me, that's incredible. And I haven't done this incredible AOT that you talk about. We've kind of pretty much only tackled diet and stress management, and just through those things alone, she's been able to tackle that flight of stairs. which is just incredible. And it really does go to show that the right diet is going to help as well. So I'm glad you said that. And like you said as well, getting the right nutrients. You know, if you are someone who is struggling, for example, if you struggle to cut something, if you struggle to write, I'm sure you're going to struggle to cut and chop and prepare food. You know, you might need to go elsewhere to try and get those vitamins and nutrients as much as you possibly can into your diet where you can. So even then, like, I don't necessarily, I think we briefly mentioned it before, I don't necessarily advocate using supplements as like your only go-to, but at the same time, if you're someone who is struggling to reach those needs, then that's what they're there for. You know, go for them, use them if you can.
Yes.
Excellent. So how important, actually touching on that then, how important and what is the connection to improved mental health in managing these conditions?
Wow, interesting. So we need to sometimes divert the whole scenario of you being disabled, unable to walk, with chronic fatigue syndrome, with the fibromyalgia. We need to divert our attention to something else, because a lot of the time we can sit and dwell in it, and we're just going sinking into this deeper hole more and more. And there's other things that come along with that, severe depression and all this sort of thing. So we've got to do something to divert our attention into other things. Maybe start doing some artwork if you can. You know, watch something different on the TV, watch nature programs if that's all you can do at that time, because you can't physically, you know, use your hands because you're thinking, oh my God, there's too much pain. So just have a look at different ways you can do that. Listen to some relaxing music. Take time out just to be still, because you're being still anyway, but maybe from the noise from that's going inside the body, just listen to some relaxing music, close your eyes and just immerse yourself in that for 5 to 10 minutes a day, and do it intermittently throughout the day. It doesn't mean just once in a while, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. If you've got severe pain coming in and you're thinking, I can't take any more medication, because do we need to live on medication for the rest of our life is another thing, because I deal with clients who are addicted to medication and they're now taking painkillers for no reason at all. Okay, so we can be very mindful. Then when your pain is so high, put something on the TV, YouTube, whatever, wherever you can get your gentle, relaxing music, just sit back and just relax and just breathe through that pain, because we can, and then you'll start to feel different again. But there's different techniques I use in different programs for all this sort of stuff. But yeah, just giving some tips there.
Amazing. We'll take all of your tips, Parveen, all of them, everything you've got. Beautiful. I love it. And I love the fact that you mentioned sit out in nature. Throwing her under the bus again. Deb's, her action step that I gave her last week was to go and sit outside, take a book, take a chair, just take a chair and sunglasses so she can put them on and not look at anyone or talk to anyone, and just sit outside in nature, get some vitamin D, fresh air. You know, even just that is just a huge difference to then sitting inside all day, every day. Makes such a difference to the mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Do you have any common misconceptions or myths surrounding fibro? I think I've got one that I would like to ask, again, referring back to, you know, people are told, well, you're going to live with this for the rest of your life. Once I've got it, I've got it. I think we've pretty much already covered on that. But yeah, any other misconceptions surrounding these conditions?
Okay, so myths. Okay. Maybe not so much on the myth side. I think when you've got fibromyalgia, people don't believe you. It's a difficult one, because people cannot see an open wound. People can't see a bandage over you. People can't see literally like something on your foot where you've just hurt your foot. There's nothing there to actually see. So when people, for example, you know, I was given a walking stick, you know, I didn't actually leave the house, of course, for some time. And when I did, I struggled, but I really couldn't wait to get out, because I was looking at the same 4 walls over and over again. And my neighbors used to say, come and get in the car, we'll take you. But then when the car got to the stopping point in the parking area, I couldn't walk from there to the shop. I literally couldn't. And I felt myself dying on the inside. My heart was like too heavy and I couldn't breathe. I'm thinking, oh my God, what's the point? But just to get out is a great thing, but people can't always see how severe your fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue is. And this is why I still believe, be strong, get the help you need, because you can recover. One of my clients back in 2018, 18 years ago, 2005, she recovered from fibromyalgia. When I got the therapy and everything that I was doing on her, she then ended up working for a hospital. You know, she got the job she wanted and she thought she was never going to recover. So these are some of the things we can recover from. And don't forget, even if you're working just a few hours a week, that's better than not doing anything. At least you got some sort of life back. You know, I've seen people recover from being on crutches then to being artists, you know, because they changed their life. You can do this. You really can. Please, I know I want to say don't choose to be stuck, because nobody wants to be stuck, but sometimes our mind is just so in a certain space that we can't see the wood for the trees. So try and see if you can get yourself out of that space and just say, I want to recover from this. I want the help now. And you know, there is help available. You do not need to struggle on your own. And of course, you know, every therapy costs, every coach will charge, so forth and so forth and so forth. But take the steps to say, I want to be in better health than I am right now. Get the help.
Amazing, amazing. Do you have any further tips before we wrap up, Parveen, that you would like to share? Anything, any other nuggets of wisdom that you've got?
I have 45 years worth of nuggets.
Too many nuggets of wisdom to share for this one little life.
Yeah, and for now, I mean, like I said, I did write my books on this, and I thought, whenever I talk about my phenomenal experiences, I wrote those books, you know, in 2006, at the time, and I wrote it within 4 months. It happened so quickly, which everything does in my life. Everything happened so quickly. I wrote it, off it went to America, and my publishers got the books out, sold worldwide in different countries. Not many people still heard of it, of course, because there's so many books out there. And in that time frame, I just thought, you know, I'm just going to tell my story, because I don't know who's ever going to believe me. Just like I was saying to a gentleman last night whose family I went to see because they've just had a loss in their family. I said, I wrote my book because I thought, who's going to believe me? And I don't really care if people don't believe me actually nowadays. And I didn't care too much then actually, because I thought it's a true story. It's an experience. My family went through the same as I went through. So none of us are making this up, but it is something that did happen. And sometimes your journey happens the way it does, so that you can meet certain people, like people have probably met you, Bianca, because of the work that you do, and you're helping so many people as well with the nutrition and the plant-based, you know, eating. This is what happens. Sometimes we are sick, and I was thinking about this the other night. Sometimes we become sick, but there's something greater behind that. When you move out of that, you see yourself, you know, like, well, I can now look back and I think, gosh, I was there. My illnesses actually have helped so many people. If that makes sense. There's something beyond.
100%, 100%.
So
yeah,
I'm not my illnesses. It was very painful at the time and scary, very, very scary when you cannot breathe. But apart from that, I'm so happy and grateful to be alive today. I'm so happy and grateful that I can help people and I can tell my story, and hopefully it will inspire some people to be healthy and well and get the help, because you really, can I just say something? You don't have to be stuck, because there's help out there.
so true. So true. Mic drop, and Parveen is out. That is so true. And, you know, I feel like a lot of people feel like they're alone. All of my clients, they all have one-to-one, my one-to-one coaching clients, they have one-to-one sessions, but they are also in a small chat because of this reason, right? Because everyone believes that they are the only one experiencing it. They are the only one on the planet that has to suffer through it. Well, you don't have to suffer through it, and which Parveen has clearly demonstrated, and you are not alone. There are people out there who have done it, who have been through it, who are going through it, and who will be going through it. And just find your people and know that there is a lot of support out there. So speaking of support, where can we find you?
Okay, so I am Soul to Soul Wellbeing, and we've been working, I've been mentoring for over 20 years. In fact, I used to mentor in schools, and you can just find me on www.soultosoulwellbeing.com, where you can, you know, have various support and help for different sorts of things. and it's very bespoke as well. So if you've got chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, what I'm going to do today is, which we haven't done, okay, because this is already a very good, 4 sessions that we do with coaching, which is all to do with health and well-being, to get you out of sickness and into wellness. So usually we don't give 25% off, but to you, your listeners, your audience, I'm willing to give you 25% off my 4-session program, okay, which is on Zoom, and I will help you through your health problems to get you the AOT that your body needs. And it doesn't matter where you're in the world, because it works wherever you are in the world. Okay, I've got practitioners in South Africa, New York. I've got practitioners dotted around London, different places, and we all do the same work, and we get phenomenal results.
Amazing. That's so kind and so generous of you. Thank you. So how can people claim this 25% 4-session bundle, did you say?
Yes, it's a 4-session bundle. So it's $599 originally, but you're going to get 25% off that for all the listeners here. And all you've got to do is send us an email to Soul to Soul Wellbeing if you go onto the website, and just mention that you've been watching this program here today. And that's how they'll simply, because we'll know, they'll simply get their 25% off.
Okay, I'll pop that in the text in the above the box, and that'll be sitting there for a while. So thank you so much for offering that to the audience. And just because I know a couple of people will probably be thinking, is it possible for them to just get in touch with you, kind of figure out what you do, and then go ahead into coaching before they just jump straight on board?
Yes, they can.
Amazing. There you go. So any questions can probably be answered in terms of like what the coaching would involve and stuff like that. So amazing. Well, Parveen, I am been absolutely honored to have you in the group. Thank you so much for giving us your time, your expertise. You are very well sought after, so I am extremely grateful for your time. Thank you so much for offering everything to us today.
You're most welcome, and thank you to everybody who's been watching, and thank you, Bianca.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Excellent. I will drop off Facebook now. If you've got any questions, folks, please drop them in the comments below. I will make sure Parveen gets tagged for any questions, but she's a very busy lady, so be quick. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. If not, I will catch you soon. Thank you so much.